All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, good to be back after Hanukkah. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came in, not an easy question. Definitely not an easy question to answer, and that is about Emunah, about proper faith and belief in God. The question was, how does having 100% Emunah look? All right, it's kind of a loaded question. So I'll say it depends on the person. Why do I say it depends on the person? Because we'll say like this: there are different levels of having proper belief and faith in God. One, we'll say the highest level, which probably no one's holding by today, and that is somebody who, they don't put their best foot forward for anything. Not when it comes to livelihood, not when it comes to health, different things. They don't go to doctors. They don't put their best foot forward for anything. They learn, they study, God will take care of my needs. Now, how many people like that in this generation? Not too many, if any. Right? Because the Chos of Avos, it says in duty to the heart, you got to put your best foot forward. Right? And that's our obligation. Right? That's certainly for, I would say, just about everybody. So the question is, okay, if you're on that level, which nobody is, but I'll just throw this out there anyway, then if a person's on that level, they don't do anything, right? They don't do anything, when it comes to, when it comes to having, 100% faith, they don't go to doctors. They don't even do minimal effort, to make money, right? So that I would say is the highest level, which nobody's holding by. Now, after that, I would say there are different levels. Now, there really shouldn't be, but again, why would there be? There would be because again, it depends on a person's level. The Victor Miller, of blessed memory, had an extremely high level, of Emunah and Bitachon. Right? In other words, he didn't see anything as bad. Anything in his life. Everything was good. Like Nachum Ish Gamzu said, Gamzu Atoiv, everything is good. Thankful for everything. Right? I tried to say that yesterday. Here finally gets cold, rain, so I was traveling yesterday. So whatever, it's cold. It's cold, it's rain, thank God we need the rain, a lot more rain also, right? But I tried to invoke what he said. Rain brings things back to life. Huge thing, right? Gives the ground what it needs. Keeps things alive. So, that's very good. So you're going to say, but you're walking in it and you're getting wet and everything else. Okay. It's part of the process, but you think about the good. Think about what it does. People say, they don't like the cold. They don't like the snow, etc. Okay. But, think about what it does. Think about what it does for the ground. What it does for the air. Etc. So yeah, it's kind of hard to be in it, especially if it's cold or it's wet or whatever, but it's a mentality, right? It's a mentality issue over here. So he had a very high level, of Emunah by saying everything's good. He didn't have difficulty. Nothing bothered him, right? He saw the good, even when it was hard. So for everybody else, everybody else, if someone's been working on themselves and they've been saying this mantra, on a daily basis, that God, you're the one in charge. You're the one who runs the world. You can make things happen or make things not happen. Right? So the mantra is when it's, even when everything's good. Let's say person got a lot of good things going for them. You can never be satisfied where we are. And we always have to remember he's the one in charge. No matter what, Gemara in Bracha says, even a person got a sword to the neck, they can still think and believe it's going to be a good outcome. Because God can do anything. God can change things, clarify it, like the blink of an eyelash. So someone's going to say, but how can a person do that? Because you're going to work at it. I would say it doesn't necessarily come natural. Right? Something's going to be worked on. Right? So if that's the case, the chips are down, who are you going to turn to? So 100% Emunah, person, I don't know, whatever they're going through, they need a huge salvation. And what do they say? God's going to take care of my needs. We're not going to worry about it. I'm not saying you don't put your best foot forward. Right? But 100% Emunah is, that's it. God's going to take care of it. He's going to take care of what needs to be done, one way or the other. So, when a person's down and a person has difficulty, what can we do? We can wallow in self-pity, can do that. A person can panic, can do that. That's not what God wants. Doesn't want you to be afraid. The only thing you're allowed to be afraid of is if you forget Torah. That's what you're allowed to be afraid of. You're not allowed to be afraid in general. So 100% Emunah means every step of the way God's in charge. That's what it means. Person in dire straits, they're cool, calm, and collected. God's going to take care of their needs. Person going to say, I want to thank you, God, for this opportunity to work on whatever it is. Whatever their character trait is. But again, it comes at different levels. Not everyone has the highest level, especially when they go through a lot of difficulty. But at the same time, there's what to work on. 100%, there's what to work on. But a person has to remember, as we always say, person has to remember God's the one who's in charge. He can do anything at any time. So what does that look like in practical terms? That when a person gets in a certain situation, whatever it is, and they say it's all for the best, and God knows what he's doing. They don't curse, they don't get upset. So a person going to say, what? We're malachim, we're angels? Again, everyone according to their level. But if we have proper belief and proper faith, what's going to bother us? What's going to bother us over here? You're going to say people say things, they do things, they this and that. Yeah, so what? And it's freezing cold and getting soaked in the rain. Okay. You could look at it in a positive way, go look at it in a negative way. Right? There are different ways to look at this. But the bottom line is, someone who has proper faith, nothing phases them. If they have 100% faith, nothing phases them. So you can say, how many people are like that in the generation? I can't answer. But, there are people that don't get faith. Doesn't matter what's going on around them. They don't get fazed because they've worked on themselves. They've said the mantra over and over and over. And they worked hard. Life is hard. One thing you got to keep in mind, there's no instantaneous fix. Not in anything. We live in a generation where we want things fixed yesterday, the day before. I don't know if there's any pain. Fix it. Deal with it. People don't want. They want the cliff notes. They want it to be easy. Why is the conversion process take so long? Why do I have to learn so much? They want it yesterday. But you know what? So benefit. Because the quicker it goes, then a person converts. Now you're going to be liable for everything. Now it's all practice for JIT. Jews in training. We're going to say, yeah, it shouldn't take 5 years. You're right, it shouldn't. If a person lives in a Jewish community within walking distance of a synagogue and they do what they need to do. I agree. It can take a certain amount of time. Everyone just wants to get through it and whatever. True. They want to have that title, being a Jew. Okay. Well, think about the ramifications. Think about after the fact. What's going to be? Now you're going to be liable for everything. Don't you think you should really know it well before that? Even we know we're going to make mistakes anyway. But people say, I wanted this, I wanted that. I want the title. What's the title worth? What in the world's the title worth? If you're only going to screw up and make mistakes, the title's not worth anything. Just the opposite. It's going to come back to bite you. I shouldn't say bite. It's going to take a chunk out of you. Because the person's not ready. Because they wanted the title. Very good. You want the title. Okay. But if you don't go through the requisite things and you don't know well enough what's going to help, test is going to come. You're going to get an F or a D minus. How's that help? But I want the title. Who cares what you want? Nobody cares what you want. Nobody cares what I want. You got to do what you need to do. It could take longer. Okay? Nobody has patience. Right? It's something we've got to learn in this generation. Patience. Things don't happen overnight. And if a person thinks they do, they're wrong. Because the easier something is, the less worth it has. Right? And if life would be so easy, would it be worth living? Some people say if it's too hard, it's not worth living anyway. Okay, it's a different issue. Come to my my coaching classes for that. Right? But it's the outlook. It's how we view things. The things always go our way? No. Life is a trial. Life is a test. In many things. There's a word in the Israeli dictionary doesn't exist. It's called savlanut. Or as we'd say in yeshiva, savlanis. You know what savlanis means? You got to have patience. Doesn't exist in this country. You won't find it in an Israeli dictionary. Anyone who's been here, you sit in traffic on a bus, in a car, whatever it is, the light turns red, yellow, which means next light's going to be green right afterwards. People are already beeping, but you can't go. See it all the time. People sit there honking left and right. You can't move. It's red. What are you going to do? What did you do? Cross when someone's going the other way? Going through a yellow light? Nobody's got patience. I was waiting for a bus yesterday, and whatever bus I needed really wasn't coming, so I took another bus. You see all these people pack in. Now, I'd like to say we're single file, no pushing. I'm not going to go that far. Right? Okay, I understand. It's cold. People want to get on the bus. Bus is going to be packed. Such a thing called derech eretz. Derech eretz mean to have proper, characters. I get it. You're waiting outside. You're in the elements. It's cold. It's rainy. Makes sense. But guess what? It's still going to be a mensch. Still have to have proper character traits. Because, hey, if I don't push and shove, I won't get on the bus. You get on the bus. Maybe you have to wait for the next one. Okay. Next one can take another 10, 15 minutes. Okay. But it's cold and it's rainy. I want to get on the boat. Okay. Life doesn't always go the way we want. A lot of times it does. We should always say expect the unexpected. Right? That's how you learn how to deal with things. Because something happens you least expect. So you're going to say, if you least expect, how can I prepare for that? You got to think. You got to see, the future. What could happen this way, that way, the other way. And think about the repercussion. And think about what are you going to do? You're in that situation. Give you a chance to think about it. Right? Problem is, we react. Knee-jerk reaction. That's what God wants. God's not interested in a knee-jerk reaction. He wants you to be methodical under any circumstance. You're going to say, come on. God expects us to be angels. Got to work hard. That's what it is. Right? That's what life is. So Emunah is, person, as a deadline for something, whatever it is, and they're come. This has to get done, that has to get done, other thing. Everything needs to be done yesterday, okay? The person's got proper Emunah, or what the question was, 100% Emunah, not getting excited, they'll get it done. They'll do what they need to do. How many people work good under pressure? Some do. You lit a fire underneath them, they'll, under pressure good. Other people not so good. Yeah, now imagine a person got a job. Where one little mistake could cost them limbs. They're not careful. So, they're trying to do something fast. What could happen? They mess up. But it costs them in a major way. So a person has to always be on an even keel. You're going to say, but we live in an upside down world. You're right. We live in an upside down world. It's not easy. 100%. That's what we have to work at. Then even if something happens, we don't get fazed by it. I'm not saying you blow it off. You don't show any emotion. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, what's getting nervous and getting uptight gonna help? What's getting angry gonna help? We're gonna say, doesn't everyone get angry? People get angry. Definitely bad character trait, no question. But everyone has to work on that. Anyone doesn't get angry. Right? So I have to work on it more, some less. It's about expectations, about other things. Right? So we're not saying, you just look the other way. You say, well, I'm going to hope for the best. That's not what Emunah is. Emunah means that everything's calculated. God knows what he's doing. You buy in, you believe 100%, that God's going to take care of it one way or the other. One way or the other. Might not look pretty, whatever the case is, but God's going to take care of business because that's what he does. Or he can make life more difficult. He can squeeze you and say, okay, let's see how a person's going to react. So a person's been working on themselves, even if it's hard, not going to worry about it. A person, let's say, has to go somewhere, and, they miss their connection or something happens. So 100% Emunah, a person's got to say, it's all for the best. Okay, can I make arrangements? This, that, okay. But a person's always uptight and this doesn't go right. Now, a person's a perfectionist, let's say. So, this has to work and that has to work and, everything has to work in sync. What if it doesn't? A lot of times it doesn't. The question is how you look at it. And some people will fail that. One little thing puts them in a tizzy. Turns them upside down. Because one little thing went off. We can't be that rigid. You got to go with the flow, whatever happens. I go up north twice a week. So things have to work like clockwork. If it doesn't, throws things off. Okay. Right? I do the best to make sure it goes like clockwork. I don't like to be off schedule, different things. But okay, if it happens, it happens. So someone's going to say, isn't that irritating? Isn't that aggravating? Yeah. Totally. The question is how you view it. Right? I guess I was waiting for a bus. It was raining. It wasn't raining. I was looking for a hitch to go somewhere to get to a bus. Usually I find a hitch. Usually someone going in that direction will pick me up. Okay. So I always think, okay, if I make, if I get a ride now, I'll make it to this bus and I'll get there or whatever. And sometimes, and a number of times it happens. And then the bus I take to take another bus, they got, 40 minutes to get there, 35 minutes to get there. Let's say it's close. If there's traffic, if there's no traffic, it takes 20 minutes. If there's traffic, it takes 35 minutes. It take 40 minutes, it may take longer. And the buses usually work like clockwork. In other words, let's say a bus is going to leave at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, it's gone. If you're not there a few minutes before, it's going to be gone. And if, and I had once, the bus was pulling out. I ran after the bus. Bus saw me. Driver saw me. I don't think there's any question about that. He just kept driving. So someone says afterwards, someone says, see, look how much they hate, Orthodox Jews. I said, whatever it is, okay? So I have to wait. What was the next bus? An hour and a half. So I wanted to get it. Okay? So I missed it. Right? I've had times I missed this bus by 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay, what are you going to do? So what's my mantra the entire time? My mantra is, okay, God, you want me to get home earlier? Very good. You're going to make it all happen. You don't want me to? Okay. Am I going to get excited one way or another? Yeah, it was a little annoying. Not going to say not. This bus is taking off and I was there. I was within striking distance 100%. I don't have any question about that. He kept going. Okay. They're waiting for anyone. Or maybe they do because someone said, yeah, someone else, thank you a person waiting for them, they wait for you. Okay, whatever it is. Even if it's true. Even if it's true, you know what the mentality is? I wasn't supposed to make it. I wasn't supposed to make it. Was it annoying? Yeah, it was. It was annoying. But I kept thinking in my mind, okay, I could make it, and then bam. Didn't happen. Okay? If I would have been on a higher level, it wouldn't have even fazed me. But there are people on a higher level that say, okay, they did their best, didn't go. Okay. So I also said that. I was annoyed at the first. I was there. I was essentially there. Okay. There are different levels. There are different levels, but every step along the way, the point is someone who lives with Emunah 100%, every step along the way, you're thinking, okay, God, you're the one in charge. And I was thinking yesterday, it'd be very good someone stop, pick me up. Earlier than later. It happened. So I know I have a certain amount of time. Nobody picks me up. I get another bus to go straight to where I need to go. Okay? Goes around China, but I'll get there. It happens. It definitely happens. It doesn't happen all that often, but it happened. So what happened yesterday? It happened. Exactly that. It was cold, it was rainy, this, that. Okay. Took it in stride. I said, if you want to make it happen, you'll make it happen. It could be this car, it could be the next one, it could be the one after. Okay. You don't want it to happen, it won't happen. Your choice. And what was the answer yesterday? I didn't want it to happen. Right? I want you to get back later. Okay? Right? Now, again, sometimes we'll get under a person's skin. It could. We're human. Not going to say not. At the same time, if a person really had 100% Emunah, they just say, okay, God, you're the one in charge. You'll make it happen. And that's it. They're going to think about it again. Right? That's what I would say. In short, someone asks, How should I approach my family members about being in idolatry? Problems with the New Testament. Who says you have to? Who says that's your obligation? There's no obligation, certainly for me, for a Jew, to bring someone closer, to bring a non-Jew closer to the 7 Noahide laws. No obligation. Right? We mentioned this before. Why not? Because there's a concept called Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh. All Jews are intertwined. Doesn't mean Jews and non-Jews are intertwined. Right? So for a Jew, we'll go beyond what we need to do, try and help them. Non-Jews with non-Jews worry about them. But if non-Jews want to learn, very good. They want to learn, okay. I have to go looking for them, teaching them their mitzvahs. Why? Why is that my obligation? Someone say you're the chosen nation, right? For this 100,000 times. You're the chosen nation. You're an Am Mamlechas Kohanim. You're a people that are, priestly people. Okay, so that means you got to help every non-Jew out there. Who says? It doesn't say it in my book. They're making an inference, a bad one. They're saying, wow, you're the leader of the nation, blah, blah, blah. So you have an obligation to reach out. Who says? Who says I have to reach out? I have to put posters near every church and tell people about the Noahide laws? Who says that's my obligation? Bring Jews back, I get it. Right? That I'm more of an obligation. Non-Jews and their own mitzvahs, who says? Who says that's my obligation? They come to me, they want to learn, or whatever, okay? Then you got an obligation to help them. 100% you got no obligation if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, send them to someone who does. So now the question is, okay, a non-Jew, someone who's a Noahide, a JIT, whatever you want to call them. So they have an obligation to bring family members close to the Torah. Who says? Who says they have an obligation? A Jew definitely doesn't. Right? Let's make that clear. According to everybody, we have no obligation unless they come to us. Now, the question would be, it's an interesting question. Does a non-Jew have an obligation to reach out to other non-Jews about the Noahide law? I don't know. If Jews don't have an obligation to proselytize, why would Noahides have an obligation? Right? To have them keep the Noahide laws. Could be it's not forbidden. Right? It only be forbidden for a Jew. Could be. Could be it's not forbidden. Right? How should you approach it? I wouldn't. Because I don't think they're going to be interested. You could, you could say, you tell them what, show them things. I don't, you have to see if they're going to be interested at all. I got plenty of family members not interested in anything. Someone will say, hey, can you tell me about life after death in 30 seconds? What does that sound like? No. Within 10 seconds, the person will cut me off and say, no, I heard enough. Right? So you know what I did with this person? I sent them a link. I said, here's the link. I'll send you a link. You want to watch it? It's a 2-hour thing. Watch it. You don't want to watch it? That's the, I sent them a link. That was it. But the person asked me, because I had mentioned it. Because the person wasn't worried about the afterlife. I said, oh, really? What do you know about the afterlife? What do you know about the next world? Zero. Right? So I said about the afterlife, the person was kind of interested. A little bit. Right? So I sent them information. I sent them a link. Did it go anywhere? I know someone who would say, propaganda never goes to waste. Okay? But if the person ain't coming to drink, what are you going to give him? What are you going to serve him? Not interested. Right? So you can gauge and say, I really feel bad. You're totally going in the wrong way. Different things. Don't you know about the contradictions? In the New Testament, you can put feelers out there, and see, but they may turn around and say, what, you think I've been lied to by the church? I've been in the church for 25 years, 50 years. You think they lied to me? Yeah, I got proof. You want to hear it? Probably not. Because why would someone want to hear something that's going to uproot their life? I don't think too many people are going to be that interested unless they're searching for truth. Right? So you can approach them, 100%. You can approach them and tell them, feel bad. There are a lot of contradictions, different things. You definitely can do that. Question is if they're going to be interested or not. They're in idolatry by de facto because they were born that way. Try and get someone to change their mentality. Especially if they're living if life is good for them. If life is good for them, what are you going to give them? What in the world are you going to give them? You're going to say, no, you're really miserable. Try and convince them? Come on. People think that, people get into religion or this and that. They need to be told what to do. They don't know how to think for themselves. I'm a thinker, right? Some people will say, I don't need to be told what to do. But most people don't care. That's the point. Most people don't care. You know why they don't care? Because they want to do whatever they want. It's all about desire. They don't want to change. You come along and tell them, there are problems in the New Testament and different things. If they're opening to hear, which I don't think they will be, because most people are not open-minded, right? If they're open to hear, very good. If they're not open to hear, then it's a waste of time. I would say it's a waste of time. Because in the back of their mind, even if they think you might be right, what's in the back of their minds? In the back of their minds is if I give up JC, I'm going to fry in hell forever. Whether they're religious or not, it doesn't matter. That is something they're not willing to give up so quickly. And most people will not look at information unless it's, unless they're searching and they have issues, which most people listening had. And they ask questions they didn't get answers. And then they're willing to hear the other side. But how many people are going to get that far? How many Noahides do we have today around the world? Millions? Not even close. Thousands. Maybe 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, I don't know. Not a huge number. So about all these people being brainwashed, what about them? Their choice? We're going to say, well, family members. Oh, family members, I get it. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. I got plenty of family members going to be wiped off the face of the map. Spiritual. Right? My mother had 4 aunts and an uncle. They have 2 left. Well, I have an aunt, great aunt, that's 95, should be well. Great uncle just turned 90. So there are 5 lines. Right? 5 of those lines. 4 great aunts and an uncle. 3 of those lines spiritually, because of intermarriage assimilation, wiped out. When I mean wiped out, they don't have a Jewish line. Gone. 1 goes through my mother, goes through me. Right? Thank God, doing well. 7 kids, 6 grandkids, still on the way. We're expanding. I got one other line is on life support. Now, why do I say life support? Because my great uncle had a few daughters, so their kids are Jewish, even though they're intermarried. Right? So somewhere down the line, they're also going to be wiped out eventually. Because if those kids have boys and they intermarry, it's over. So it's on life support. So let's think. I'm probably, the norm in many cases. Ravaged with intermarriage and all that, wiped off the face of the map. All these people going to be wiped out. Feel bad. But, I don't got family members coming to these classes. That I can assure you. They'll tell me to get off my soapbox, put me in my place, okay? They're going to pay a price. Isn't that sad? Sad? 100% it's sad. What can I do? Sometimes I wish I could do a lot more, but nobody wants to listen. So what do? There's nothing you can do. You got to do what you need to do. Right? But someone can say, come on. If I show them, maybe they'll turn around. Okay. Right? You can breach the subject. I'm not saying none. You can ask, you can tell them what you're doing, this and that, and what happened, and why you saw contradiction, the blah, blah, blah. They might not totally be interested at all. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying when it comes from family, it's much harder. Much harder. Now, in my case, I'm the youngest by 6 years and 9 years. Right? They ain't gonna listen to me. I could be 80. It's not gonna matter. Right? Listen to younger brother, never had. Right? It's just there's a reality. The reality. It may hear from someone else. They're not gonna hear from me. Right? Everyone in my family knows what I'm doing, more or less. So why isn't anyone came to ask any questions? That's the irony of ironies. In many ways. I've been religious since I was 18. Different phases, different things, right? Within Judaism. So people aren't necessarily so surprised. I ended up the way I did. I get questions sometimes, you're still gonna wear the when are you gonna start wearing tights? That's why I'm not Hasidish. I had a cousin I met last summer, his non-Jewish wives, what was the one question came up? Where are your side curls? Where are my pants? I said, they're right here. I just don't have them around my ear. That was it. Okay. So, had a nice conversation, different things. Is it going to go anywhere? Don't know. Propaganda never goes to waste. You never know. But if someone wants the answer, they know where to go. You know what the irony is? And I shouldn't say it's so ironic, right? But I think it is in a certain way, right? What's the irony? The irony is no one ever asked why. Nobody ever asked. Right? And I would think in most families probably similar. Why? Because they don't care why. They don't want to hear why. They don't want to hear what they're doing is wrong. They don't want to, they don't want to hear propaganda, quote unquote. It might actually be, what if you're right? So one person in the last 30 years, I mentioned this before, is intellectually honest. Person was into marriage, said if I look into Judaism and I find out it's true, I'm not going to change. So I'm not gonna look into it. So that person was honest. I haven't met anyone honest since. People will say, come on, I'm just as Jewish and you think you're better. And okay, people can say what they want. It's total 100% ignorance. What it is. But nobody ever asked the question. Not now. I say it's ironic. It's not. Not really so surprising. Because if they smell what I say is true, and it makes sense, why aren't they doing it? Some will say I'm too far gone, my spouse, this, that. They make all kinds of excuses. But when it hits home, they want to hear it. And I think for most people, they just don't care. You're a fanatic, you change, it's your problem. Right? That's what people will say. I don't think they're going to say anything different. I know people I grew up with, they still think I'm a nut. Okay. I've been called worse. Am I going to convince them? No. Should I try? Maybe. But they're never going to listen. I don't know if that's a good enough excuse or not, but they're not going to listen. I know they're not going to listen. So, how do I know? Because I tried when I was younger. So maybe they didn't try hard enough. Maybe you're too strong. Maybe, okay. Maybe a lot of things. I hope God's not going to hold that against me later. Right? But bottom line, a person wants to try, show somebody that. So they're going to say, how? So have a conversation. Have a discussion on what you're doing and why. And see if they care. Personal experience, a lot of people don't care. Because it hits them in the hearts. It hits them too hard. Because they're going to say, what? You don't think I'm Jewish enough? You don't think this? And, I had someone tell me that, the previous generation, it'd say, well, everyone has the right to make their choice. I said, yeah, but if 70% make the wrong choice, Judaism will die. Well, that would be terrible. And, well, people have to live. They have to make their own choices. No, but Judaism is not supposed to die. Torah says many times, I mentioned Tanakh talk last week, it's forever. Covenants forever. Not supposed to die. Not a 5-year option to renew. They don't care. right? My grandparents' generation, yeah, there was more of a feeling of Judaism. This generation, nothing, very little. It's all superficial. Are there some people actually searching? Yeah, there are some that are. Vast majority could care less. Could absolutely care less. Right? So you have to see, are they going to be interested in what you have to say? You can bridge the subject. I'm not saying not. Is it going to go anywhere? Depends on them. Depends how, and they may just tell you to bug off. You want to live your life that way? Fine. You want to be a fanatic? Fine. Don't bring that to me. Oh, come on. You don't see there are contradictions. I don't think most Christians care, except the Bible thumpers, right? And they're just going to misconstrue things. They're never going to listen anyway, right? But most other people, they go to church once a week, once a month. Does it matter? Doesn't matter. No different than Jews. Never go to synagogue. Same thing. It's just belief only. Belief in JC or whatever. Have they really thought about it? No. But there is this lingering thing. You don't believe in JC, they're going to tell you for now forever. So if you can preach the subject, they want to listen. They'd be interested in listening. Good. I wouldn't expect it. Bring it up. Bring it up in conversation. Sometimes though, I will say, people may be hit with a harsh reality. I always say family's an albatross in many ways. Blood is thicker than water. Yeah, until they intermarry. Blood is thicker than water doesn't mean anything, right? But at the same time, people may actually say, "I don't care." You want to do that? That's your thing. I don't really care, right? But again, it's mind-boggling in a certain way. Like in my case, people saw what I did just went, extended further. Just extended much further. So they weren't like shocked. I don't think most people were shocked, right? But no one ever asked the question. To me, that's mind-boggling. That's mind-boggling. Now, what does it show? It shows a number of things. One thing it shows is if they ask and you actually tell them and you start mentioning things, it might hit home. They don't want to be convinced. They don't want to be quote unquote brainwashed like me. Right? Okay. There's a harsher reality. There's a harsher reality. You know what the harsher reality is? They don't care. That's the harsher reality. What's so important to you, they could care less. And sometimes they'll say it to your face. So what are you gonna do? That's a harsh reality. But so someone says that, or they say, well, you're just a fanatical nut and this and that, and they start making fun. So what's the mantra? The mantra is that these people have a 25 IQ. So let them talk what they want. Imagine once, I boxed someone into a corner. I had them exactly where I wanted them, and they squirmed out of it. They said, I don't know how we got on this conversation. Conversation's stopping right now. That's it. Because they knew I had them. They knew I had a number of tough questions they didn't want to deal with. Okay? Right? So you have to see. Are they going to be interested? It could be. It's not forbidden over here for a non-Jew to do it to another non-Jew. A Jew to a non-Jew, different issue. Right? So, they could embarrass you. They could say things. The question is, they're going to say, well, what are you doing? You trying to save me? You want to save me over here? So, yeah. I mean, you have to sound genuine. You have to say it's out of concern. It's out of love and going down the wrong path. And you might just get left in. Person wants to go through that. Okay. I can tell you from experience, I learned the hard way. People didn't want to hear. People didn't care. Okay. Right. So what do you do? What, are you sit there and cry about it? No, you move on. It's tragic. No, I'm not going to say none. I get all these people. I can help everyone else. Can't help myself. That's part of what I have to go through. I'm pretty convinced. Right? Okay. That's what it is. I'm not going to say it's not painful, but what can you do? There's nothing to do. They don't want. So if they don't want, I can't do much about it. Should I do it? Not saying you can't. That's the case. That 100% would be the case. Someone there mentioned, very good. I mean, I'm not gonna say very good, right? But person loses a teaching job because they started questioning the Bible. Yeah, that's it. 100%. Truth hurts. People don't like. People do not. It's their choice. People want to live life a certain way. Their choice. Definitely. Definitely their choice. I know somebody lived in a small town, very small town, 3,000 people. Left the church, came in Noahide. They suffered a lot because everything surrounded the church. They had no social group and nothing. But he said, Rabbi, I can't turn back. The whole thing is false. Right? Eventually moved, but the kids had problems, whatever. They didn't have a social life. Social life is important, but the truth is the truth. All right, what are you going to do? Truth is the truth. Somebody here asks, can I explain Zrizus? Oh, Zrizus. Zrizus, the whole chapter from Paul speaks about in Path of the Just. Right? You need Zrizus on the way to get whatever, there's a certain, this leads to this, and this leads to that, and this leads to something else, and how you acquire these, these character traits, right? Till you get to Ruach HaKodesh, which is divine inspiration. If you follow what the Ramchal says there in Path of the Just, so all that working on your spiritual development, if a person does what he says, you'll get there. You'll get to Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. But most people are never going to get there. But, in theory, if a person would follow it, they would get there. So one of them is Zrizus. Zrizus means to be fastidious. Zrizus means I'm always running to do something positive, mitzvahs, etc. Right? The question is, how do you acquire it? Right? It's not an easy thing to acquire. Right? In other words, a person wants to do Ratzon Hashem. Right? They want to do what do you call it? They want to do what God wants them to do, so to speak. So a person always has to have that fire lit, underneath them. But again, we get sidetracked. Ramchal says in Derech Hashem, we live in this world, you get sidetracked. Very easy to get sidetracked. Right? But a person has to be focused. So one of the ideas of Zrizus is focus on what I need to do. Right? Focusing on and running with it, so to speak. So Zrizus essentially is, it means to be fastidious. Fastidious means that, I'm always contemplating doing the right thing. I'm always, be the first one to help, be the first one, to do the mitzvah, this, that. Right? That's what it is. But there's stumbling blocks. There's stumbling blocks. It's not an easy thing to acquire. And the reason it's not an easy thing to acquire is because we get loud to sleep. Meaning that we do things by rote. Right? That's the opposite over here. Being complacent. Let's say better. When a person is complacent, it's much harder. Much harder. Because we're lazy. Right? Now, I've gotten this question a lot, as well. From a lot of different people. And that is that, when I'm motivated, I can do this, that, and the other thing. But a lot of times I'm not motivated. Right? How do I get motivated? I'll ask like this. Always good to answer a question with a question. I'll ask, how many people exercise? Right? We should all exercise. Right? Keep the body healthy. How many people enjoy exercise? Some more, some less. Right? But someone sets out to do a certain regimen, whatever it is. 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Unless someone is like really, really into exercise, it's not something a person necessarily likes to do. But you got to find time to do it. So, if a person, let's say is well overweight and they have to exercise, they have to change their eating habits and this and that. So that there's motivation. Why is there motivation? Because you can drop dead of a heart attack. You get diabetes, other things, right? So there's much greater motivation because you don't want to die, right? Very good. What if that's not the motivation, right? In other words, what if, okay, we all have to exercise, keep the body, going well and this and that, but you got to be disciplined to do it. You got to be disciplined. So how many people are disciplined? How many people want to go on a diet and they never did? Or they did, they stopped and they cheated and this and that. It's like anything. You got to be disciplined. Person goes to school. You got to take good notes. You got to study, right? In order to pass the test, you got to be disciplined. If you're not, sometimes person may have an unbelievable head, so they don't have to study as much. They can have bad habits, right? Eventually they'll catch up to them, but they could slide by without really doing what they need to do until they've, until finally, they have to change. But it's like anything else. You have to have discipline. So when it comes to Torah mitzvahs, I'm going to say that, any JIT out there, you got it very easy right now. Extremely easy. I don't care how much you're doing, how much you're praying, this, that, you got it very easy. Why? Because you're not Jewish. And if you're not Jewish, it's all make-believe, right? In a certain way. It's all make-believe. Because I don't have an obligation. If I want to pray, I can pray. If I want to keep kosher, I can. If I want to practice this, I can. Is there an obligation for a non-Jew in these cases? No. They'll get credit for doing it, but there's no obligation. What about when they get an obligation? That's when the evil inclination sets in. That's when it's a lot more difficult. But a person's going to say, if I have it hard now, what's going to be later? Right? So how do I get out of this monotony, let's say, of being lazy? Right? So I'll say like this. Imagine you get upstairs, after 120 years. Let's say you finally convert. Let's say a person, finally converts. Or, a Jew becomes an Orthodox Jew, whatever. But essentially, the fire starts to burn out. They get lazy. Now, I'm not going to say, well, think about, you need fear of God, as we always say. You got to think, okay, my actions have repercussions. My actions have repercussions. I'm in trouble. If I don't do what I'm supposed to do. But that's not enough necessarily to light a fire under someone because they're afraid they're going to fry in hell forever, unless you're Sephardic. If you're Sephardic, you're closer to tradition, then that's going to scare them. Ashkenazim, not going to scare them. It's a different mentality, totally different mentality. Right? If a person doesn't have discipline now you're going to have discipline later. I'm not going to say give up the process because of it. And a person may be totally dedicated, and they may be totally in, right? But they're lazy. And someone once told me, they said, it's a lot easier playing video games than learning Torah. Of course, because you don't have to think, right? But in theory, it's a lot more enjoyable, right? Sit there like a couch potato, watching that, sporting events, movies, other things. Of course, right? A person's getting entertained over here. Torah's not easy. Not supposed to be easy. It's hard on the brain, right? Makes us think, makes us analyze. But we could get well to sleep also. A person could be keeping things by rote, which is akin to spiritual death. That's bad. But again, someone who's going to finish this process, and actually convert, there has to be dedication. There has to be self-motivation. Because you're never going to get there just by sitting back and doing nothing. Or some days it's good, sometimes it's worse. A person has to have self-discipline. If a person in general has difficulty with self-discipline, this is going to be very hard. I heard a story. Rabbi was saying that someone got real excited, real excited about Judaism, and whatever. They were much younger, so He dealt with him for a few minutes. It's in here. Took a few books off the shelf. It's here. Read these. Get back to me. I'm so glad you spent some time with me. Whatever. The person's like really, really interested in Judaism. What happened? 2 weeks later, comes back and he says, no. He said, not for me. Not for me. Because he understood. He understood what was expected. He understood what he was capable of. At least at this point. They're not capable. Now, that doesn't mean someone who's been involved in Judaism for a while and this is the path they're going on. Doesn't mean you don't have ups and downs. You have ups and downs. A person can have ups and downs. Right? But a person has to be disciplined. If you don't have discipline, it's not going to go. Right? Some days it's better, sometimes not, but you got an obligation. You got to know what to do. The more a person gets sucked into secular society, the harder it is. 100% harder it is. It's hard to jumpstart that, and it's hard to live in the middle of nowhere and have no support. No family support, no community support. That makes it 10 times harder. 10 times harder. Right? So there are a lot of different factors, but see, we're very quick to say, see, or the evil inclination will say, see, it's too hard, you're lazy, you're this, you'll never get over it. What do you mean you'll never get over it? But this is what I want to do, so why aren't you doing it? Because evil inclination gets a hold of a person. To say, but I'm tired, then okay, you got to make time. It's not an easy thing. If it's important enough, a person will do it. Now, if a person says, as we said, if a person says, I'm lazy by nature, this is a problem. This is going to be much more difficult. You can't be lazy. Anyone in this process, you got to think when you wake up in the morning and all during the day and at night, this is the single most important thing that you'll ever do. And you have to go out and do it. Now, that's why a lot of people don't end up converting, less than 25% or less than 20%, who even start the process or accepted by a rabbinical court. It's too hard. They're not disciplined enough. Whatever. It's all encompassing. If you don't see it as being all encompassing, then you'll never finish. It'll be impossible to finish. You may believe it, so now put up or shut up. Now you got to do it. But see, it's a lot more difficult when you don't have support. Much more difficult. Persons in a community, they're going to people for Shabbos, for festivals, they see how it's done. It's a whole different world. Whole different world. You take what I say with a grain of salt, go see it for yourself. You're accepted, people think the way you do, whatever. They'll help you along the way. That's huge. Huge. Person lives on their own island and think they're going to do it on their own, forget it. Right? That's why most people don't stick it out, because they can't get out of Dodge. They're in the middle of nowhere and it's just too hard. They get beaten down in life and they can't, whatever. It has to be the single most important thing they'll ever do. Now, even with that mentality, it doesn't mean day in and day out it's going to be easy. Learning Hebrew is hard. Following in a prayer book is hard, right? Go to synagogue and try to follow in the prayer book. It's hard, right? It's frustrating. You want to be able to pray. You can't pray. You don't know what you're doing. It's hard. A lot of things, right? The question is, how badly does someone want it? Right? Torah is something that King Solomon says in Proverbs, you got to want it more than rubies and diamonds. More than money. I always say, Bill Gates, in his day, I would always say, if we would work so hard in Torah like he does, trying to stay number one when it comes to money, we all would have been righteous people and rabbinic scholars years ago. Years ago. No offense to Bill Gates. Right? His work ethic, come on, put us to shame. Put us to shame. Working 16 hours a day, this, that. I don't think he does it today, but, in order to stay on top, that's what you got to do. How have I? We should do that in Torah. How have I? But you got to want it more than anything else. So someone told me last week, a few weeks ago, someone told me, said, I'm jealous. Someone became religious many years ago. And he says, I'm jealous you always have that fire lit. It's not an easy thing. I'm not going to say it's an easy thing, right? Yeah, even if you're the Energizer Bunny, it doesn't matter. It's hard, it's a grind. It can be a grind. But if you love what you do, you just want it more than anything else, God's going to open up the doors. Going to open up the doors. But sometimes it's easier than others. It's hard for a person to get up and, you go to a place and you're going to learn for a certain amount of time or this and that. You sit yourself down. It's not easy. You got to be disciplined. And the first thing you do, you go sit and learn, just shut off your phone, unless you're watching a video on a phone or whatever, or listening to a class. You cannot be distracted. That's the most important thing. When you're focused and you're in, then you're going to get there. But you're going to say, some days I'm not focused. Okay. You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're not focused. I would tell you, even a day you're having a difficult time, you're not focused, learn something you like. Not something that you have to learn. A person likes Jewish history, read some, don't do other things, read that. Do things you enjoy, that you get a geschmack, you get an enjoyment from. That'll uplift you. Next day will be a different day. But you're right, it's not so easy. And maybe people say, oh, you didn't learn all day. When I was doing that, I was like, you wouldn't last 2 hours. 2 hours you wouldn't last. Not saying you have ADHD. It's hard. I've learned something today that made my head spin. Different things. So, okay, sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not. But what it is? It's all Torah Hashem. It's all God's Torah here. It's all a lot of people, even if they've been learning many years, how could they go sour? There's a phenomenon, people going sour later in life, midlife crisis, whatever, or even younger. Why? Because they never got the enjoyment. They just did it because they had to. You get yeshiva students that, they could be, top guys learning year in and year out. They burn out. They totally burn out. They go off. And not that they had philosophical questions. They just wanted an easier life. So what happened? You can say, no, they really got enjoyment and that something went off. Right? That fire has to be lit every day for the right reasons. And if it's not for the right reason, you got to understand why. I once, I had my learning center, and I used to give a schmooze. Like once a week. And I would say that one class, one schmooze I gave. So I said, why do guys sit and learn? After they're married. So I said, this is a theoretical question, not looking for an answer. Why do guys sit and learn? Not because of money, because they're not getting paid that much. Right? Not prestige, in different ways. Right? So what was the bottom line? You got to love what you do. You got to understand why you're doing it, not just because I'm in this track, so to speak, and, I want to marry someone from a prestigious family or, any other ulterior motives. Never going to last. It's never going to last. And there's the phenomenon that's happening. It's sad. People leaving the fold, they just want an easier life. That means they didn't internalize the message. The life's not easy. It's true. 100%, it's true. And there was a story I read a while ago. Somebody, give classes in public, this and that, totally empty. So I give these classes, I inspire other people, I'm empty. That's what he said on himself. Not adding here. That's what he said on himself. Now, he's not going to go off. He enjoys what he does. Right? But he has no connection to God. How can that be? How in the world can that be? Make, more than 100 blessings a day. You mention God's name thousands of times. How can you have no connection? They only see it as intellectual stimulation. God plays no part in their life. Plays no role in their life. That's what we said. How do you know if the person has 100% Emunah? Because they live it. When the chips are down or not, they live it. Everything is God, God, God. He's the one in charge, right? It's such a merit to learn his Torah, even if it's hard. So you say, someone's been doing that for so many years and they get burnt out. Okay, person can get burnt out, right? But if they really had, and I can't say it's 100%, but if they really enjoyed learning and this and that, they should never burn out. Right? So this person told me, he said, you got that spark. I don't have that spark. I can always sit and learn for an hour. Hear a class for an hour and I'll fall asleep in the middle. So it's not an easy thing. 100% is not an easy thing, right? But at the end of the day, it's nothing. I don't think it's nothing better than that. But not everyone's cut out for it. Not everyone's cut out to sit and learn for years, or hours on end. Some people that can't handle it. Okay, person has to know what they can handle, what they can't handle, right? And a person should never go overboard because that's what the evil inclination wants. You say, "Oh, I'm going to learn. I'm going to stay up. I'm going to cut my hours down. I'm going to stay up and learn and learn and learn." It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a disaster, right? You got to do what you're able to do, not outside of what you do. Not outside of that, because if you do what's outside of it, you're in trouble. Because you're going to do all these things, and evil inclination is going to egg you on and say, "Yeah, stay up later, learn less, sleep less, this, that." A person gets burnt out after a while. A person cannot sustain it. And then when you can't sustain it, what's the HR going to say? What's the evil inclination going to say? "Oh, it's too hard. You couldn't do it. It's this. You're a loser, blah, blah, blah." That's it. It's over. Or as we say in Boston, it's over. Right? Totally over. Here, someone tells a story. Again, when it comes to family, it's hard. I'm not going to say not. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Especially around this time of year. When people say things and they don't care. And that's hard. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any question, especially when it's something you believe in so strong and they mock. It's one of my personal pet peeves. Someone is going to mock and they can't even read Hebrew, and they don't know anything. They barely know the aleph base, right? So they sit there and and mock, and I could easily say, my 7-year-old grandson knows more than you. Yeah, I could put them in their place. Doesn't necessarily help. But they, I say, "Oh, you really think this?" "Oh, I'll let my grandson answer that. He'll answer you." Make you look like an idiot. Okay. But yeah, that's hard. That's hard because we get mocked, we get made fun of, and they don't know anything. They repeat what they hear, what they see. They don't know anything. And they're going to do that because they want to make themselves look better and make you look like a fool and say, "Oh, come on, you really believe in these antiquated laws? You really believe in this? You really believe in, So they want to put, that's what Lashon Hara is. Someone wants to put someone else down to make themselves look better. That's what it is. Right? So they're going to do that in order to say, "See, it's just so stupid." And you're busy watching, college football, January 1st, all day long, and all the stupid parades. No, that's enjoyment. I'm using my mind. I'm this. Come on. You're going to sit there and argue? It's going to go nowhere. It's going to go nowhere, but I would agree. So, it is offensive. It is offensive. I've been there. Definitely been mocked in many ways. But, I have plenty of what to say. There's no, there's no shortage. No shortage of things to say, but you got to be careful, right? You got to be careful also. Slam them too hard, they're going to say, "Oh, what are you getting so upset about?" Right? You don't want them to get under your skin, but I would agree. I would agree 100%. It's annoying. It's and I got a big mouth, as most people know. So it's to hold my tongue back. I've learned over the years. It's just there's nobody home. If someone's going to say something, I'm just going to let it ride, unless I absolutely have to say something. Like I said before. I was telling someone just this story when I got locked in the bathroom. I said, "Yeah, someone told me I should have prayed." I said, "I couldn't. I was in the bathroom." I go, "Is that one of the rules?" "Yeah, one of the rules. Even if there's no anything disgusting in the toilet, one of the rules." That was it. I'm not going to let this person get under my skin. For what? Is it one of the rules? Yeah, one of the rules. Can't pray in a toilet. You can't pray in a bathroom. Yeah, even if there's no smell or anything else, not going to get gross. Yeah, it's one of the rules. What's that person doing? He's mocking. Right? 100%. Right? Listen, they did it in a joking way. Okay, but I know what's behind it. So I answered it. That was it. I'm going to let it get under my skin. It's good. It's good for story time. Story time to make a point. Person's an idiot, doesn't know anything. Okay. You gotta sit there and let it get under my skin? Because you have a 25 IQ and my 7-year-old could have told you that? My 7-year-old grandson could have told you that? I made a comment to someone once. Someone made a comment. And I said, my 5-year-old could answer you. I said, aren't you embarrassed? You have the Jewish education of a 5-year-old? You can imagine that was the end of the conversation. Person admitted they didn't have any problem admitting. He said, well, you're probably right. Okay. So, what did I accomplish? I want a person know. We're not arguing the same level. Not even close. Right? Oh, my 5-year-old answered. Put them in their place. You gonna sit there and make fun of me? You have a 5-year-old education. Less. Nobody likes to be mocked. Especially if we believe what we're doing is right. Right? Nobody wants to hear it. And I would say if a person is in those situations, don't put yourself in that situation if you don't have to. You don't have a choice, you don't have a choice. Right? A relative, never say anything to me again. Put him in his place. Me and my wife put him in his place, something he said. This was many years ago. Oh, you guys are harsh. This is a disgusting comment. I'm not gonna say what it was. Disgusting comment. Going to everybody. Right? You're what? You think I'm gonna answer that? You pig. You think I'm not going to answer that? It was a piggish comment, let's say. Put him in his place. Snappy answer. Boom. Knocked him out. Oh, you guys are harsh. Yeah. That person's not going to be stupid enough to say anything like that. I'll never do it. Because he knows. Put him in his place straight away. Right? But again, who wants to go through confrontations? Nobody. People say, you like confrontation. I'm not interested in confronting anyone. Someone says something, maybe I'll answer. But over the years, I don't say anything. Unless I absolutely have to. If you don't have to say anything, it's better. You get aggravated, this, that. People say things because they want to show that you're wrong. They want to make fun of it. Okay? I need that like I need another hole in my head. Maybe people say I do need another hole in my head. I don't know. Could be. All right. Someone asked, what's the vibe in Israel with this Yanukah? Many ignorant men are saying negative things. I don't know, it seems to be real tzaddik. Right? People saying he's the Messiah. I don't know about that. Wherever he goes, large crowds follow him. Definitely knows a lot. You got great sages, listening to what he has to say. Is he the Messiah? No idea. No idea. I don't know. I didn't say any negative things, but I'm not necessarily following it so closely, but I do know a lot of people are. I don't know that much about him, but I do know that seems to be a pretty holy person. That I can say. What's it gonna be later? I don't know. Right? That I can't say. Someone asked, how do you handle family and in-laws believe you're going to hell? And telling young children, you're going to hell because you don't believe in JC. Okay, you got to make a decision how you want to confront it, if you want to confront it. If a person says, listen, I have information showing that's not true, and I can show you why it's not true. And there's a whole ton of evidence to show why it's not true. Then you see where it goes. And if they say, you can't show me anything, I'm not going to listen, this and that. So then you have to make a decision. It's uncomfortable. You can say, listen, you can say whatever you want. Don't go into religion. You want me to come to these things, family, in-laws, it doesn't matter who they are. Right? This is, and someone asked me many years ago, would you tell people to cut out yourself off from family? I said, depends. Totally depends. Some things you may not have a choice. Right? In-laws are just not going to go away. Right? Or you got to weigh the law, though. And if they still don't listen, let's say, is that, you tell them in a nice way. You tell them, I don't want to have these discussions, this, that. We can agree to disagree and you move on. But see, people don't, we don't live in, we're not living in, in fairy tale land over here. Right? They may say, I'm going to say as many times as I want. What are you going to do about it? Right? So it could be extremely uncomfortable. So you can say, okay, you want to come to my house? This is the way it's going to be. I'm going to come anyway. I'm going to do what I want. This, okay. Depends on the situation. Depends on the situation. If they're never going to go away, you lay the law down. You just say, you want to disagree? We can disagree. You want to have a discussion? You want proofs? We can have a discussion. You don't, and you're going to continually say that I'm wrong and I'm going to find out forever. Okay, there's a limit of what you can do. I did this when my kids were younger. I used to go to my in-laws, every year and a half or so. I said, you want to watch TV? Watch in your room. I don't want my kids watching TV. It's conflict. I said, you want us to come to you. This is what has to be done. It was hard. I'm not going to say no. I'm definitely not going to say no. It was hard, but they wanted to have a connection with their grandkids. It's okay. So that's what they did. We just laid the law down and we were consistent. You want us to do this, we need to do this. So we had to work it out. It got worked out. I think there was resentment. There was definitely resentment, but over the years it got easier. Right? And as people said, when you have kids, it'll get a lot easier. It did. It did in many ways. Thank God for that. But yeah, there was conflict. And the conflicts throughout the years, a lot of things. A lot of things. And sometimes I'm just going to tell you, when it comes to family things, sometimes the only question how much damage you can do. I'm very good at doing damage. Right? It's the only question how much damage you can do. Because there are certain situations you're in, you can't win. You're not going to win. Right? And there, people are going to get offended, and there's nothing you can do. We made it clear. My wife's sisters, when they were younger, you intermarry, we're never coming to the wedding. We made that clear as, as a deterrent. You want us to come to the wedding. You get married, very good. Marry someone Jewish. You don't marry someone Jewish. We made it clear. We have, we were living in the States. I have a sister that intermarried. We didn't go. Did it cause friction? Oh, yeah. What can I do? Nothing to do. No, can't you find a way? Isn't there some leniency? No. Everybody knows you don't marry a non-Jew. I'm an Orthodox rabbi. I'm going to go to a non-Jewish wedding. I'm going to go to a Jew and a non-Jew. You're going to be crazy. There's no permissibility. Even if they're under protest, there's no permissibility. Come on, can't you find a leniency? We made this clear 20 years before. 20 years before, we made it clear. Consistent. We didn't do it. Did we get flack? Oh, yeah. Still failing it today. What are you going to do? Can I turn the Torah into a pretzel? Can't do it. So what do? There's nothing to do. You can't go. You can't go. Maybe look pretty bad. So what? If they married a Jew, and I could have gone, different issue. I mean, there are other issues, mixed dancing, a lot of things. A lot of things that would have been issues, but I could have gone. Obviously it's not on Shabbos, and all things being equal, could have gone. It didn't happen. That's not what happened. So now, how are you going to come out of that smelling like a rose? Never. It's just how much damage does it do? And it's damage. It's not the non-Jews' fault. Totally not their fault. It's the Jews married to the non-Jews. That's the fault. So what are you going to do? Can't you find some excuse, some leniency? No, there's no leniency. We made it clear. Any of them intermarry, we're not going. That's it. Would have been hard enough if they married a Jew under different circumstances to go, but we would have gone. And if there's a woman singing, I would have left and whatever. That would have worked it out. Would have been pretty, but okay. Certain things you got to do. Fine. You marry a non-Jew, what are you supposed to do? And let's say they married a Jew and they got married on Shabbos. Then what? What do you do about that? You have to sleep over somewhere, whatever. It's a whole mess. Probably certain ways around it if I had to. Right? But those are bad situations. Nobody wants to be put in that situation, but what are you going to do? Right? So that you need rabbinic authority or higher rabbinic authority. Know what to do, what you're allowed to do, not allowed to do. It's complicated. Right? But, let's say they got married Friday night. What are you going to do? How could you go? Can't travel. Well, if you stayed there with a place to stay, you could walk. I don't know. Maybe there are different ways around in certain ways. But there are certain things you can't do. You can't get around. So what do you do? There's nothing to do. They're going to say Judaism is this and this is that and the other. You're right. So the Torah says, more than half a dozen times, you're not allowed to intermarry. So what do you want from me? That's what the Torah says. I follow what the Torah says. Can't you find a leniency? No, there's no leniency. There's no leniency. Right? Again, it's not the non-Jews' fault. Not at all. It's not a personal thing. Not a personal thing. So it's complicated. But a lot of times you have to make decisions that people aren't going to like. Right? So you have to have a strong backbone over here. You have to not care what people think. But it's hard. I'm not going to say not. Over the years, I just tuned everybody out. That's what I did. If I can work things around certain things, good. If not, there's no way around it. Try and explain the best we can. And guess what? All it does is cause damage. The only question is how much. Okay. Right? If I can turn the Torah into a pretzel and rely on leniencies, even if you shouldn't rely on this and that, okay. I won't be happy doing it, but if you have to do it, you have to do it. Right? But if it's something you cannot do, let's make clear. You can't do it, then what are you going to do? Then what are you going to do? So these type of people, again, you can choose to have a connection with them or not. Or if you say, listen, I'd really like to have a connection, I'd really love to see you, but you can't bring this topic up. Not in front of me, not in front of my kid. That's it. You got to put your foot down. If they say they can't abide by that, then you got to make boundaries. You want to see, you got to make boundaries. It's the only way. Because if you don't, well, a person could say, well, they're not going to listen anyway. They're going to keep coming. They're going to keep saying, okay. So you just got to change the subject, hear whatever they hear, and move on. If you can't, and that's what's going to happen, then you got to make a decision. You marry into a family, so to speak. You know what you're getting here. You hope that, they have same values, this and that. But if they don't, it can cause serious problems. Down the line. I can tell you, I hit a lot of them. A lot of them. Not saying I handled all of them the right way, right? But I've been put in, I probably should write a book, and then I read a lot of books here, right? On a lot of situations that there's just, some things I had to do, I wasn't happy about doing, leniencies I had to rely on, different things. Okay. But we got caught doing something that, we weren't consistent, and then we got hit. We got nailed. So after that, we said, okay, this is not going to happen again. Right? You want to do this, don't invite me. It's unpleasant. You don't have to go through that, but sometimes you have no choice. And even if you're going to see them and you have no choice, okay, you tell them, listen, you want to speak about this? It's off topic. It's off limits. Now, what are you going to do if they keep hammering you? There's nothing you can do. You just have to say sticks and stones, let it go out one ear. Go in one ear and out the other. And what about your kids? I can explain to them, listen, grandma, grandpa is senile. You can explain to them what senile means. Tell them, yeah, they're just saying these things, but don't worry about it. And if you have to explain to them why, at their level, you can explain to them. It's unpleasant. Family's unpleasant. Can be unpleasant. I always tell people, you want to test it? Go to them for Thanksgiving where you can't eat the food there. When it comes to food, different issue. Totally different issue. It's hard. I'm not going to say harder. I'm not going to say not. Someone asked me about Yanuka. I answered that. Yeah, somebody points out, very good. Right? Most Christians don't follow anything, and then, all of a sudden become Bible scholars. Yeah, very true. Very, very true. Right? I've seen it also. So, isn't this true? No, it's not. Okay. When it hits them in the heart, so to speak, or upside the head, then they're the biggest Bible scholars. And it's, and if a person has knowledge, it's just really sad. And I told someone, I said, listen, I'm going to be very nice. I'm humoring you, by listening. I have a PhD over here. Higher and deeper, Papa has though. So I said, I have a PhD in Judaism. Tanakh, you'll catch me on. Things in the Talmud, depends where. But I said, come on. I've been learning for 30 years. You think you're going to make up something and say, oh, he didn't know that. It's not going to be religious anymore. Like, come on. Person can't read Hebrew or anything else. All of a sudden, they're a world expert in Judaism. Or they'll say, well, I don't claim to know that much about Judaism. Great. Leave it there. Leave it there. That's it. But, people have this uncanny ability. They want to, they want to knock you out with something, an article they read. Well, isn't it true that? No. Well, it's very complicated. Oh, I got you. No. There are answers. You're not going to like any of them. So, it depends what it is. But I would agree. People don't really know much about their own religion. When it hits them upside the head, then they're the big scholars. That I would agree. Right? So somebody points out, you got a 10-year-old, you got to be there. You got to be on top of it when they're around family members. You can't even go to the bathroom. You got to be on top of it. Because you have to explain. Because if they want to put their clutches on them, finish. Thank God a lot of my kids, took after me. Someone says something, they'll have what to say. In a nice way. They'll have what to say, what to answer. But the younger they are, it's harder. Right? It's definitely harder. But you got to make sure when these things come up, you're around. Right? And obviously it's going to come up when you're not around. Right? I get it. But, you got to temper that somehow. You definitely have to temper that. Someone asked, thoughts on Rabbi Yaron Rubin, Rabbi Men's Friedman a heretic. I got to see what he says. If what they're claiming what he said, then it's a problem. It's a problem what he says. Right? I mean, he's been giving classes for years. For a long time. So I would really have to investigate and see exactly what he said and what the context was and what Rabbi Yaron's claiming that he's a heretic. Because if he's saying what he says, what he's claiming, then it's a problem. I would agree it's a problem, but I haven't heard enough of what he said in the context of what he said, in order to say that he's a heretic or not. Right? But I will say, if what he's saying is heretical, then but I haven't looked into it enough. Someone asked, what's category 7 laws, prohibition of mission of species? Is it more than one of the 7? That's a good question. Not sure the exact category, but the Gemara asked the question, leaves it unanswered. Gemara leaves it unanswered. Gemara in Sanhedrin leaves it unanswered, right? But we hold that mixing is going to be forbidden. What exactly the law is, I have to check. I have to check and see exactly which of the laws. It could be. You have to remember the 7 or an umbrella. It could be it's going to fit in one of these 7 or etc. Right? They're about 65, 70 altogether. So, right. Question is where it's going to fit. It's a good question. I have to check that. Someone asked, a good friend wanted to know how to read the Torah, but doesn't want to learn Hebrew. He wants to learn Greek. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, you don't want to learn Hebrew. How are you going to learn Torah if you don't learn Hebrew? You're going to use King James' version of the English. You got to learn Hebrew. Right? It's bottom line. They want to learn Greek. Well, there is a translation. In Greek it's called Septuagint, but I ain't going to learn it without learning Hebrew. It's like I don't know. It's like being a Sikh and not knowing Sanskrit, right? You're going to be, I don't know, I guess a Hindu, whatever. How are you going to look at the original text if you don't know Sanskrit or whatever it's called, right? How are you going to learn it? How are you going to learn it in the original? You won't learn it. You're not going to learn it. So how are you going to, if you're going to read Torah, and most people learn Hebrew. Once they learn Hebrew, they see a lot of problems in the New Testament. No question. But if you learn Hebrew, then you can actually read the text, understand what the text says. How are you going to do it in Greek or French or any other language? It's a problem. Right, that's more than the problem. Yeah. Any other questions? Someone asks, Scraps in Tanakh on. Someone asked me that before. I have to look it up. It describes how many years difference between King Achziah and 2 Kings 8:26. He's 22 and 40. Yeah, there is a calculation. I have to look it up. I should look it up because a lot of people have asked me this question. Whatever. Let me I'm gonna copy and paste it here and whatever, get an explanation. Yeah, any other questions? Whoops. 1 second. Why is it not going on? Yeah. All right. I got it written down, so I'll take a look and get an answer. Yeah, there is an answer. I just don't know it offhand. Yeah, I'm gonna stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, back for a while. Anyone has any questions, again, find me on Facebook. I'm on Chaim Kaufman, or be on Orthodox Conversion of Judaism. Send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBIChaimCoffman @gmail.com. Wish everyone a good